All right. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. Welcome to Weekly Dose of Lady J. I am Lady J, and welcome, 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 welcome. Listen, do me a favor, like, share, subscribe. Welcome to Weekly Dose of Lady J. I'm excited about the show on tonight. If you're here, please let me know that you're here. I'm excited. We have a wonderful, wonderful special guest on this evening. She is joining us again. She was with us and has been with us before. And when she was with us before, it was a hot time. We had, it was uncensored. It was a ladies' night, and the women loved it. And people requested that she come back. And I'm so excited that she's with us on tonight. But before she graces us with her presence, do me a favor once again, like, share, subscribe. Do me a favor. Let me know that you're here, you're in the room, that you are present, you're ready to get this conversation going. Say hi to me. Let me know that you're here. Hey, what's going on? Welcome. Welcome. It is, what's today? It's Wednesday. Wednesday. It has been some kind of week. Let me say, for those who have been voting, have voted early, kudos to you. I put a post up earlier today. I see a lot of people voting early. That is absolutely wonderful. I'm so proud of us for taking initiative, for doing the patriotic thing, for being responsible, ensuring that we're voting, that our voice is being heard. So this is great. I'm happy to know that we are doing that. Um, if you're out there, once again, say hi to me. I just want to know that you're there. All right. Okay. All right. All right. I'm going to bring Joy on in. She is a licensed therapist. She is doing her thing. She's a coach. She is a seer. She is also a voice. She's a mother. She is a beautiful lady. I think she is a fashionista. I have grown to really love and appreciate her. She's a colleague and she is a dear friend, and she's back with us. And tonight we are going to be talking about loving yourself, a lesson in self-care. And I'm excited about what we're going to be talking about, and I'm going to patch her in on tonight. So here she is. Welcome, Joy, to the show. Joy Williams. Hey, Joy.
Hi.
Welcome back. Hey. So how you been? Welcome back to the show. What's
Yeah,
going on?
thank
Catch
you.
us up. Catch us up. What have you been doing since you've last been with us? It's been like a couple of months since we've seen you last. What you been doing? Catch us up.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been a couple of months since anyone has seen me. I've been really focused on my self-care, and I kind of just got off of social media. And just it was at a point where, sometimes we can feel like, oh, I got to post this, I got to do this many times a week, and it gets so draining. I
Uh-huh.
Who told me that? Who told me I had to post? No, I'm getting off. And I actually just lived my life, and it's been wonderful. So I'm excited about that. I've been working on a lot of new projects for the new year that I'm excited about. So I've been doing a lot of internal work and self-care and working on building my business.
That is so awesome. That is absolutely amazing. And you look beautiful as ever. Your skin is glowing. What are you doing? Are you doing something special with your skin?
Thank you. No, that's just a lack of stress.
You said a
That's a
lack
little,
of stress.
that's a lack
I
of stress.
love it.
Yep.
Are you resting well too?
I do. You know what? A lot of people don't know this. I actually have been diagnosed with narcolepsy. So I'm one of those people
Oh,
that
really? Okay.
anywhere, right? And so
Uh-huh.
my daughter just told me the other day, I used to take naps like at least 4 or 5 times a day, or I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
function.
Okay.
But I don't even have to take as many naps anymore because I'm not as mentally drained. Like, I don't have the unction to just fall asleep as much as I used to. I still feel that little tug whenever a
Okay.
sleep attack comes, but
Mhm.
yes, I'm resting. I'm resting.
That is like amazing. I love it. I love to hear that. I love to hear that you're resting. Lately, rest has been something that's trying to escape me. And it's so interesting. I'm exercising. I'm still exercising every day.
Mhm.
But lately I have been uh, having to force myself to shut my brain down. And it's not because my body isn't tired. My body is tired when I get into bed, but I'm
Mhm.
having to force myself to shut my brain down to go to
Mhm.
sleep. So
Mhm.
it's very interesting how, you get into bed and your brain will keep going. So
Mhm.
no, it's good that you're getting your rest. That's good because rest is definitely a part of self-care and self-love. So I want us to definitely dive into this conversation. First, are you doing a live party? A watch party? Are your people watching? I want to make sure that your people are watching, that they're sharing. Make
No,
sure that they're sharing.
I
Make sure
didn't.
that your people are supporting.
Yeah.
I like to make sure my guests are getting support. So make sure that your people are logged in.
Okie dokie. Let me make sure I'm sharing it now.
Yeah, do it. What you laughing? What you laughing at me?
Funny.
Am I funny?
Yes.
Hey y'all, are y'all out there? Somebody say hi to me. I need somebody to say hello.
Mhm.
I see people are watching, but I don't know if I can't always see the comments.
Right. No, that is something to juggle those
Yeah,
two.
I can't always see the comments. Sometimes StreamYard doesn't always allow me to see the comments. So
I think my people should be popping in. Let's
I
share.
don't know. I'm not always able to see the comments. So I'm not always able to see.
Okay. Let's see. There we go. I've shared it.
Good.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Okay, you good.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Okay, all right. So what I want to do is I want to start off real basic and then I want to go deep. Okay, but I want to start off real basic. And when I say basic, I want to just start off by first let's look at and define what self-love is, and then let's define self-care. But let's keep it basic. What is self-love and how are we defining self-love? And why are you smiling? You have such a beautiful smile. Why are you smiling?
Thank you. No, it's because you said keep it basic. I mean, to to define self-love, to me, is such a dimensional thing. So I'm trying to think of
Okay.
how to just basically explain
Okay,
it.
so if it's dimensional, okay, that's fine. When
Mhm.
I say keep it basic, I'm just saying so that people can understand it when I say keep it basic.
Right, right. So, I mean, the way that I define self-love really as foundational as it is literally how, like, loving yourself, the love that you have for yourself. I mean, when you think about what love is and the expectations that you have of other people on how they should love you, like that
Mm-hmm.
love has to also be for yourself. Like, I think at the core, if you're having an expectation of how someone should show up loving you and how you enjoy
Mm-hmm.
being loved, you should be doing that for yourself first. Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
a requirement first. So, I mean, to me, I think at the basis of who we are love.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what word comes to mind for me, Joy. What comes to mind? The two words that come to mind for me is high regard.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
High
And
regard.
and see, I think and see when I hear high regard, I think about that and I think about self-esteem. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and when I'm listening, I think self-esteem, self-love, and self-worth, they all are interrelated, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
think they're the same thing. Because even if I have low self-esteem, I still have love for myself. I cater to that part where I don't have high regard for it. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's
Talk about that. So then if there is, so you can have regard and not have love, or vice versa. Okay. So talk about that a little more then.
Right. So I can have a high regard, like I can have a high self-esteem. I can believe that I'm naturally good at or bring things to the table. I can see the value in what I'm doing or bringing into the world, but not actually love myself. And most people, this is how I see it from my perspective. That's how when we hear the term like imposter syndrome, you're talking more about self-worth and self-love here. That's not necessarily self-esteem. You had esteem enough to accomplish these things. So you have a high regard in some sense in your ability to do something. But there's this love that's not enough. There's this notion that you don't have the love or the self-worth to understand that that's enough by itself. You showing is enough. And,
Okay.
Yeah.
So so I'm hearing you say the love then is the acceptance, because the regard is more caught up in the doing.
Yes.
And the accomplishments. Okay.
That's how, yep.
Okay.
And yeah. And the love, I like that. The love is more so in the acceptance, because we all have our shadow selves. We all have multiple sides of ourselves that we don't necessarily find acceptable by standards of society or what we naturally would want. So we're not very we don't really have esteem in that area, but we still love that part, and we can love ourselves into growth in that area. We can love ourselves in acceptance that this is where a part of me is standing right here, and then a part of me is growing right here, and we're all going to do this together without being, So yes, I love that. Self-love, self-acceptance. Yes. I agree with that statement.
Okay. So so it's safe to say then when we are talking about self-love, then we're talking about unconditional acceptance.
Yes. Of all of you. Yes.
Of all of you.
All of you. Yes. Absolutely. And
go ahead.
I was just like, and so in that's when it hits home, because a lot of people, that's when they try to attach themselves to someone else, is because there's something about themselves that isn't lovable for them, and they're hoping that they're going to find love outside of themselves that can kind of shield that. And so that's kind of like when you don't like to be alone, and you constantly.
We're having a little difficulty here. Okay, here we go. There we go.
Yeah, so it's kind of like
had a little
when you don't like being alone, or you don't like your alone time, and that just really brings up something. If you're by yourself and you constantly having a lot of thoughts, a lot of anxiety, and you just you don't like being by yourself, there's something to be said right there. And so a lot of times we tend to try to attach ourselves in the doing, doing. So we either try to attach ourselves in the doing for our jobs or for our others.
Performance based. Yeah.
To try to find some sort of level to love and accept that side of ourselves that we think is unacceptable.
Well, and I think it's because for so long, our definition of love is attached to what we do.
Right. And I agree with that. And that's standing in the wrong place, because your love is just who you are. You are love. It's not attached.
Yes, it's who you are. Right. It's not what you do. It's like God is love. Absolutely. You are. Love is.
Right. Period.
Yeah, love is. Period. Right.
And I think so. Even in that notion, you hear love thy neighbor as thyself, right?
Yeah. Oh, See,
And
don't even talk about that, right? Because the truth of the matter, I'm sorry, I'm taking over your thought,
no,
but
you go ahead.
when it comes to the love thy neighbor as thyself, my thought around that is you are incapable of loving your neighbor if you
Uh-huh.
don't love yourself
Right.
first.
Mm-hmm.
We've been taught the opposite. We've been taught to love our neighbor first, right?
Right. Right.
And I
Yep.
think that you have to love yourself first,
Mm-hmm.
then love your neighbor.
Yes.
Um,
Yep.
uh, because if you don't love yourself, you can't truly love your neighbor.
Right.
Um, but
And
that's not how, that is typically taught.
it's not how it's being taught, but how it's being taught is completely out of order. Um,
Correct.
because
Correct.
you love and the thing about it is love thy neighbor as thyself. I think that that's a commandment, but I think that's also that's like law, because that just is what it is. Because that's a part of the issue, is that we are loving our neighbor as ourselves, and you actually show that you don't love yourself by how you actually show up for your neighbors, because you tolerating people based off of their performance or what they can and can't do for you. And that's how we tend to love our neighbors. And if you're loving your neighbors that way, then you're also doing that same thing to yourself, because whatever it is in your neighbor that you find intolerable is bringing up something in you that you also find intolerable. So does that make sense? Like,
Oh, it makes perfect sense. So you give up. So what you do is you give up. You give up on your neighbor
mm-hmm,
and you give up on yourself, right?
mm-hmm.
You said what?
Yeah, and that's the part where I find most people try to overly, the people who they should give up on when they stay in
Right.
relationships too long, they
Right.
try to overly indulge in those people just so that they can prove that they are also lovable. Because if I can love you, even though I see these constant things that makes you unlovable, then hopefully you can love me enough to do the same for
To
me.
do the same thing, to stay. Right.
Right. Instead
Right.
of you just loving you. And then you
Right.
don't have to live in
You don't
yourself.
have
Yeah, you don't got to
correct.
tolerate that.
You don't have to tolerate it. You don't have to stay. Right. Because you are enough. Right.
Mhm.
Well, right. Yeah. Well, I don't think we understand the value of self-love. I
Absolutely.
think there's greater value placed on the love of others,
Hmm. And
right?
absolutely. And I think from society, yes. And I think the reason why there's greater value and it's like that is because we don't understand who we are. You can't have self-love if you first don't know yourself.
Right.
If you're basing yourself out of the lens of other people and what they find acceptable or what they find desirable, then you're already disconnected. You're already starting off on the wrong field. You're not going to ever fully be able to love yourself because you don't even know who you are. And so I think that knowing and understanding who you are, like your self-love journey has to start with a self-discovery journey. Like you have to really start getting to knowing the ins and outs. What really pushes your buttons? Why is that push my buttons? When did this happen? How is this going? Out of curiosity and not out of judgment. And as you begin to understand this thing in your discovery journey, then you will fall in love with yourself. You literally are courting yourself, and you'll fall in love with the little nicks and knacks. And yes, you're gonna get on your own nerves, just like somebody else would get on your nerves. But that's all a part of the journey. But I
Well,
think.
you said a lot right there. I'm sorry, you said a lot right there when you said court yourself. You
Mhm.
said a lot right there, court yourself. And I think we're afraid to court ourselves. We're afraid of our own shadow.
Mhm.
The groundhog is afraid of his shadow. The
Mhm.
mouse, the rat is afraid of his shadow. Afraid of our own shadow, of what we may see and what we may experience if we sit with ourselves too long.
Yep. Yeah. And so if you're afraid of that your own shadow and what you may see if you sit with yourself too long, then how are you expecting someone to spend the rest of their life with that and you can't sit with it? Because that shadow piece is going to come up because it's a part of you.
Absolutely. 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 Yeah. And that's unfair to expect. Yeah. That's unfair to expect someone to love you and you don't love yourself, right? Or you don't accept yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's real.
That's real.
The other thing I think I'm coming to grips with is the way people interact with others is an indicator of how they love themselves or not.
Absolutely.
It really is. It really is.
It's all reflections of how you show up. If you find somebody that's just an extra critical person and you don't like to be around them, like I be like low key feeling bad because if they showing up as a critic in your head, like I don't want to stand in theirs because it's even louder
in their own. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like they tend to test out their criticism on other people to see how it's kind of like they want to know, well, how do you cope with this? So let me throw what would naturally come in my head. So I'm gonna throw this at you to see how you would cope with it because I'm trying to figure it out myself, but they don't know how to say that. So yes, I absolutely agree with what you're saying. It really is everything. I'm a believer that we all are connected. I believe that you are me and I am you. On some level, we are all the same thing. We're all breathing in the same air. Everything is connected. We all are connected. Without each other, we would cease to exist. We're all connected. So therefore, loving you really is loving me. And if I even believe a little deeper that if God is omnipresent, then I am a God and so are you. We all are parts of him that's showing up into this world. And so the way you're expressing yourself is not any less godly than me. Therefore, your perception of where you're standing has to be just as lovable as where I am. So if there's something about you that I find that's distasteful, then that means that that's just a reflection of something about me. That it's just something about me that's causing that to reflect in the way. That's how I view it.
Yeah, no, I totally get that, and I totally agree. What are your people saying? They saying some good stuff.
No, I'm just looking. They saying, "Hey, Michelle."
I didn't watch right. Yeah, no, yeah. I totally agree with that. I totally agree wholeheartedly. I totally agree with that. It kind of brings me to this point. One of the things I wanted to kind of bring out when I was thinking about this topic of self-love and a lesson in self-care, I can't help but think about, Black women. I can't help but think about Black women. I just can't, because I'm a Black woman, right? And this is a topic that's near and dear to me. And so as I was preparing for this, I came across some research and some information that suggested that Black women have more anxiety and more chronic symptoms, and it's more intense than their white counterparts, right? But this is due to these three basic images that we are trying to combat in America because of these images that we're trying to combat in America that have been imposed upon us or superimposed upon us. And these are the three images that we have been trying to combat. the strong Black woman image, the angry Black woman image, and the Jezebel vixen image. And I added my own. I added one other, the over sexualized Black woman image. And so trying to navigate that can create anxiety and depression, which can make it difficult for Black women to find their place, find this self-love, find self-care, find themselves, because they're navigating all of these other images, these trying to find themselves on top of who they are, just, you know what I'm saying, just naturally.
Right. Yeah. And so I can see all of that. Like what you said, those 3 and 4, like I can see all of that. But I feel like when I think about that, and my stance on this is a little bit, well, it's a lot different than how most people would talk about this topic. I think the mere reason for that, the anxiety is based on, like you saying, trying to combat these things. So that tells me that we need to stop trying to combat something that we aren't. Just be. Like, it's the anxiety comes from you trying to fight against stereotypes.
Well, and that's the thing I was gonna say. It takes me to I always go to this radical acceptance, right? That's what I go to. That's what I think about. That's what I think about.
I mean, we have to. It definitely is about radical acceptance, but it's kind of like it's radical acceptance. But there is a reason why Black women tend to try to fight those particular things. It's because on some reason, on some level, that has to kind of identify with something that we're doing, like, or something that we've seen, and it's
absolutely.
It has to have some level of, and that's a part of that that self-acceptance, that self-love, that shadow side, if you will. And I say that because, like, for instance, I can say it's really about becoming you and accepting your whole identity when I think about the whole Black woman thing, because that thing actually had me on my path of insecurity for a long time. Like, I was raised not to be, I was literally raised and was told, don't act like that in public. You don't do that. So I literally had hatred towards Black women who would be loud in public or who would get upset in public. Like, it disgusted me at my core. And I was like, it's because of you that I have to work so hard. Right. And I mean, it was to the point where I didn't want to be the angry Black woman so bad that I didn't say anything at all. And there were times, and that's partly how my journey of when I learned how to use my own voice, because that led to a lot of different traumas that didn't have to happen.
Right.
Because I didn't want to be the angry Black woman. So it really wasn't completely on these people with the stuff happening. I didn't use my voice because I was so afraid of not showing up as something that I was taught was unacceptable.
No, go ahead.
I was like, and when actuality, it didn't take all that. It's okay. First of all, it's okay for you to be angry.
That's what I was going to say. I was getting ready to say anger is not a bad thing. It's not a bad emotion. Right.
And so, and for the longest, basically is what I'm saying, I blamed Black women that fell in these categories. I blamed them for my suffering on trying to freaking overcome something that they out here doing. I'm like, why are you out here making it harder for us? Like, you don't have to. Like, I literally had a huge issue with it. And then I had to look in the mirror and say, the issue really isn't on them. The issue is because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was enough without combating that. I made
Right.
my identity based off of combating something that I wasn't. That's what's creating this anxiety that we're feeling as we're trying to combat something that you're not. Just because you have certain elements of something doesn't make you that stereotype. And there's no need for me to combat. If you sit here and you call me a man all day, I'm not about to put no energy in my life. I have some masculine tendencies, but I don't have to overly indulge and prove to you that I'm not a man.
That I'm not a man. Right. Right.
I just,
Right.
once I kind of let
Right.
that go and like you said, radical acceptance. And it's not just radical acceptance about the parts of me, but radical acceptance that people are going to choose to stand where they're standing, and they're going to choose to have the thoughts that they're having. And that has nothing to do with me. That's the part that I had to let go of. That's the resistance that I had to let go of.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because the other piece, though, I think is interesting is that with the strong Black woman, though, I was thinking about how we do tend to, not all of us, a lot of us do tend to lean into that, that stereotype and that image because for a myriad of reasons. We've had to because of family dynamics or because we felt like we need to for our own whatever. But how we have struggled to just allow ourselves to just be.
Right.
And there's something we have not seen the power in just being we don't see the strength in being gentle or the strength in rest. Right. The strength in just letting things be.
Yeah.
We don't see that as strong.
Yeah.
We equate strength to only doing and putting our hands in something, right?
And that's why we get so tired.
And that's how come we get so tired, right? There's a lot of strength in doing nothing. As a matter of fact, it takes a lot of strength to lay low. But
Absolutely.
we don't see it that way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, not to try to control a thing takes strength.
Right.
And absolutely. That takes courage.
Absolutely. It's kind of like, I look at it like when you talk about the strong Black woman, the thing about it is we naturally are strong in and of itself. We don't have to do anything extra to assert the strength or to prove the strength. We don't have to take on any extra burdens, in which we do. What I have noticed, like I have, like most of my, I would say 90% of like my caseload, my clients are Black women, and I'm sitting here watching, and I'm looking like, dang, like we legit creating our own sufferings at times because we are overly identifying with this notion of being a strong Black woman that
overly identifying.
And that's what again, and you only overly identify when you don't know who you are to begin with, right? You're trying to latch on to something to help you understand a little bit more parts of yourself, and you overly do it. And like I've been noticing that a lot of Black women are overly identifying with this notion of being strong. And so if I'm calling myself a strong Black woman, when there is times of rest, I now equate that as boredom instead of peace, because I don't know how to accept peace.
Oh my God. And
chaos. But let me back up. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're so right. You're so right. And when things come easy, I was just having this conversation. Listen, I was having this conversation with my sister the other day. I said this out of my mouth. I said this out of my mouth. This is what I said, Joy, out of my mouth. My PhD program was too easy for me to get into. This is what I said out of my mouth. You know why I said it out of my mouth? Because I'm so accustomed to things being so difficult, right? Why can't things be easy for once? Why can't I take pleasure in things being just peaceful and easy? Because maybe that is the norm. Maybe that's the new norm that I need to get accustomed to. Maybe this other crap has been the toxicity, right? Maybe I'm supposed to be trying to learn how to live in the flow.
Yes.
Right. And the ease of like, right. But we're so addicted to toxicity.
Yep.
Here's the other thing. I think I'm coming to grips with, I like and I'm attracted to men who are projects.
Yep. And
somehow I'm attracted to men who need my help, who projects. And if it's easy, if they don't need my help, something is wrong. And I'm coming to grips, just me making that statement about my PhD program. I couldn't believe I said that out of my mouth. I said this was too easy. I did my little paperwork, and a couple of days later, I was accepted into the program. They didn't need no extra nothing from me. I got accepted. It was so easy, easier than my master's program.
Right. And you were expecting a fight.
I was expecting a fight because I'm used to fighting.
Right. And so now that you've come into this awareness, you got to really challenge yourself and say how much of this fight that you used to fighting was a fight that you actually created.
That I created, right? Now, I've had men who I've dated who said to me, and it offended me, but now I see some validity in it, who said, you dramatic. You're a drama queen. You like drama, and I don't have time, and who walked away from me because they felt that drama from me. And at the time, I didn't see it, right? Now I'm beginning to see what they were talking about.
Yeah. Yep. That's a part of that self-discovery. That's a beautiful thing, though, because you're starting.
Right.
That's such
right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't even care. I don't care who watching and who hear it. I can care less. But but you see what I'm saying? I'm starting to see that, and I'm like, oh my God, I see. I'm starting to see that.
And so, and the thing about it is, like you're saying, that is just as toxic as anything else. The need, you said something about if a man wasn't a project and you didn't have to kind of build them up, then you just kind of wasn't as attracted to them, which tells me that on the other end, or let me just say, there's some women, let me just do this. There's some women, I used to be one of these women that when a man wasn't, like, if they didn't make me kind of fight for it, like, what am I trying to say? Like, I believed that you didn't really care about me if you didn't reach out to me like a certain amount of times or something like that.
Right.
Like, it wasn't like this interaction.
Chase. You had to chase me X amount of times. Right.
Right. In order for me to even think that you was interested. But then if you go ghost and I chase you, then I'm like, okay, now this makes sense. Now you chase him. It was such a toxic way. I can't even explain it because I can't even.
No, I get it. No, I get it.
but it was such a toxic thing of a toxic way of thinking that I kind of picked up on from just bits and pieces, me watching relationships, watching movies. Nah, this is how it's supposed to play out and all this kind of stuff. And me forming this idea of what a relationship is supposed to look like. And that's just as toxic as a man out there just stepping out on you. Like, it's just as toxic. They both toxic. They aren't healthy. And you got to work on yourself and love yourself and accept yourself through it and just grow. So, but yeah.
And you have to love and accept yourself through it.
Because the thing about it is there's a reason, there's something else deeper. You choose men that you have to do projects on. There's an underlining, you're gaining something from the project. You like to see something, you like to see that something started with something. So you're basically gaining a piece of worth on that I put in on this, and now I see it coming to fruition. There's something about that, the struggle and the giving of yourself that makes you feel better. And that didn't just come out of nowhere.
No.
So you have to accept the fact that that's been a part of you for this long, and it served you for what it's needed to serve. But now that you're recognizing that it also has its time and place, now it's time to grow and evolve. But it served you for when it did. So there needs to be some acceptance for that. And it's still going to come up. And so now when it comes up, you can look at it out of curiosity, like, dang, there it is. That's connected to this. I'm not even there no more. I don't even have to keep doing that. And the beauty of it. And so when talking about, like, if you want to link this to self-care, one of my biggest pet peeves, and I'm learning how not to be so, one of my biggest pet peeves have been the way that I see people teach about, like, affirmations and stuff like that. And like, just, it's almost like I see people doing these cookie cutter affirmations. If these affirmations don't really resonate with you, then you're just like, look,
don't do them. Yeah.
You're not, whatever. And so essentially what I'm saying is, so a affirmation that I would do to help me get into the flow of where I am now is, I no longer attract toxicity. Yeah. I am open for love, and I'm deserving for love, and love flows freely to me. All I do is attract love, and there's no need to fight. Like, I literally take the belief system that I used to have and add truth to it, punch holes in it and add truth to it and switch it around to a whole different vibration. And I'd be like, dang, all you do, Joy. And then I say it in present tense. Joy, you're always attracting love. Everywhere you look, there's love around you. And when you first say that, it's like, what, ain't you lying? No, I'm not, because I see the love in the trees. The fact that the trees is operating on my behalf. Thank you, Cree. Like, I see the love in the fact that I'm watching this mother grab their child before it goes out into the road. I look for love now instead of looking for a fight or looking for a journey or a burden. I'm looking for love. And so only love flows to me. Look.
Right.
Love flows easily to me. And yeah, anywho, but that has changed. That has changed everything about my life, is switching that stuff around, acknowledging that and switching it around.
So then continue in that vein. So what are some ways that we can use self-care practices, that we can use self-care then to really activate our self-love? Because that's how we use it, right? So we use, so we use self-care to activate our self-love, because that's how we get there, until we're able to really, really say, I believe in my self-love, right? We use self-care as a means to get there.
Right. And again, that comes with being more aware of yourself. So your self-care shouldn't just be just a traditional, let me, do a night facial and all that. Those are elements of self-care. Those are forms of self-care. But you don't put a Band-Aid on your hand when your foot is broken.
Right.
That's nothing. Your foot is broken. You put attention to the part that is weak. And that's the same thing. So as we're growing and as we're learning and understanding more about ourselves, and we're starting to see, oh, wait a minute, that's been toxic. Now I'm intentionally going to put my focus of self-care towards that area.
Good,
so
good,
it has to be intentional. I'm not doing this out of repetition. I'm not doing this out of routine. I'm doing this because I'm caring for myself, period. Like, you literally have to think about the logic part of it. And so we need to have self-care options in different categories. And so in different categories, not only like, then there needs to be certain self-care for that. Because what I'm finding is so many people saying, Joy, no, I tried to do my meditation and I did. Well, first of all, girl, you can't start meditating if you already going off on somebody. That's not how you use meditation. Like,
right.
Meditation is being used for other reasons. That's you know what I mean? But it's more preventative. It's more to get more in tune and more heightened. You can't use meditation to keep you from going off on somebody if you already on that level. Like, you already, right. You know, and so it's really about finding different areas of your life and different ways of self-care and matching it with that. But I think the key, because a lot of times what I find
now,
is
wait a minute, ask you a question though. How would you get there if you don't know how to get there, how to match those different areas of your life? How do you assess yourself and determine that this is an area where I may need to engage in intentional self-care to help to build my self-love?
Well, all self-care should be intentional. Everything that you do, and we've been taught that to be to love yourself is selfish. So we don't know where this boundary is. No,
right.
And so that's a part of it. No, you put yourself need to be first. Can I say that? Like, you have to put yourself first. If you don't put yourself first, like, you're not going to show up and serve anybody any good. You have to put your own outfit on first before you go out there and do anything. You have to put yourself first. And I say that in every sense of the way. On my schedule, I got on my schedule, I literally have learned how to block out time. There's a certain time on my schedule every day. I make my self-care schedule out before anybody else gets booked on my calendar. It's going to be blocked. I'm not worried about no income. I'm not worried about nothing. I'm worried about my well-being. And so I schedule myself first, right? Whatever I do in that time, that again needs to be intentional. But when I'm saying being intentional about your self-care, I'm saying being intentional about putting yourself first. If you was in a relationship, you would be highly upset if your partner was putting their job before you, or their family before you, or their friends before you, or anything else before you. It would make you feel some type of way, because you're going to say that's out of order.
Right.
Same difference. We have to put ourselves first. Does that answer what you were saying?
Yeah, and I'm saying, for those who may struggle with knowing how to identify
with which areas.
Yes. So say the person who doesn't know how to put themselves first. This is totally foreign. How can you help them to even begin the first step to even like knowing how to put themselves first? So what may be like a first, maybe a baby step to getting there?
Well, yeah. Okay. A part of is really just choosing to go on a self-discovery journey is what I call it. Okay. And it's not even, it's not like this huge project. You don't have to think about it so bigly. It's literally, I would recommend someone start off with journal prompts. Have you, like, there's journals that literally prompt you on what to ask yourself. And a lot of times, again, I think this comes, a lot of the lack of awareness of where to start comes from a lack of awareness of who you are and what's hurting, right?
Okay.
So I recommend journal prompts. There's books, there's one that's called Choose Your Own Journey. I got it from 5 and Below. It's phenomenal. It has like 10 different journeys you can choose, but it's different journal prompts. Like it'll ask you something like, if you could volunteer, if nothing was an issue and you can volunteer anywhere right now, where would you volunteer and why would you volunteer in that area? So it literally, it will prompt you enough so that you will have to do some introspection on what it is that I really care about and why.
Okay. I'm writing this. I'm typing this stuff in the chat.
Oh, okay. And so, and as you begin to do that and go on the journey of that, then you're going to start seeing like your weaknesses or your areas of opportunity. And then you start there. And so if you see an area of opportunity where, hey, no matter what prompt I do, it looks like I'm always thinking of somebody else and not me, or it looks like I don't really think highly enough about, then you know that's the area you have to cater to the most.
That's good. Good. Okay. Good.
So journal prompts is always, I think, is a great thing. And then when it comes down to what things do I enjoy doing and like doing, I tell my clients, I recommend playing a game with yourself. I challenge them to go on Groupon and literally just look at any and everything in every category and pick something that you never would have thought that you would have. You don't know. You have no idea what that is. Just pick any random thing and learn something about it. And then I challenge you to go and do that activity, because you're going to end up finding that it's elements of something that you would have thought you never would have been able to do. It's elements about it that you actually enjoy. And so it's kind of like literally it's, to me, that's what I call courting yourself. It starts off with just as you would when you're starting to date someone or you're starting to build a friendship. It's this slow process of learning more and more about each other. And that's the same thing on, you can't really know which self-care areas to touch until you get to know who you are. So you have to start off with courting yourself.
Court yourself. That is so, that's so powerful. That's a book, Joy.
Yeah.
Are you going to write that?
Am I going to write that? I don't know. Probably one day.
You're saying a mouthful. That's a mouthful. Do you understand the power in that statement?
Right. Mm-hmm.
No, seriously. Do you understand the power in that statement?
I do. I had to live it out. I'm living it out.
Well, no, I mean, I'm convicted as you say it. Court yourself, because, and that courting of yourself happens even when you're in relationship with other people. And that's what people don't understand. Courting yourself doesn't end.
Right.
It doesn't end. It doesn't end when you're in a relationship, when you're in a romantic relationship. It doesn't end when you're in a relationship with family members. It doesn't end. It doesn't end, because those relationships do end, either by death, by, ending of a relationship, divorce. All relationships have an end. Mm-hmm. Because if it's not by divorce, it's by death. All relationships do have an end.
Right.
The only relationship that never ends is the relationship with self.
Period.
So do you understand what you're saying? When you say court yourself, you are giving me such revelation here tonight.
That's what's up.
This is why your energy, I love having you on my show.
Oh, I love being there.
Do you understand? Do y'all hear what she's saying? Court yourself. You are the only person that you have to be with all of the time.
Right.
Forever and ever.
And look, if you think about other relationships that you have, most of them are contracted. Your work relationship, even if your marriage is a contract, like everything is like contracted. Besides it, which, like you said, will eventually end, except for your relationship with yourself, and that goes on. That's eternity. That's you forever gonna be you. Even when you have passed in this.
Even when you pass, you evolve into another version of yourself. Mm-hmm. Do you understand?
Right. And you know, you,
Oh,
what you're
Joy,
bringing.
you're doing something to me. Joy, write the book, because if you don't write the book, I'm gonna write the book. Court yourself.
I think,
I just gave you an idea.
yeah. So one of the things that I have been working on for the new year is I actually have created a membership called Discover Me. It's called Discover Me membership. It's a journey of self-discovery. And it's one of those things that I found out is when you go to events or you listen to talks like this, it's like you get it and something resonates and it clicks, but then there's no follow-up. And you fall back into like a lot of your old ways of thinking and not knowing, and not having inspiration. But like with Discover Me, it's an event-based membership where there's going to be quarterly events and conferences, if you will. And then you also have the community that everyone who has already been a part of it, we're all still there. So we're all still holding each other accountable on our own self-discovery journey. But in that, it's also going to be full of courses on going deep into these topics right here. Because discovering myself and rediscovering myself was the thing that kind of really shifted everything for me. It was such a suddenly thing for me on when I said, you know what? I'd rather not keep killing myself. I realized that I had committed suicide. And I remember the day I did it. I mean, when people think suicide, they think about the actual. No, what I think is worse than even that is you actually living and not being you. And when I realized that I was no longer myself and nothing was aligning with really who I was, I might as well had tapped out when I tried a couple of times. Like I might as well have been gone. That's how I truly felt because I still wasn't here. And I said, I had to find a way to discover myself. I had to find a way to fall in love with myself because myself is really, like you said, it's a forever thing. And so if I don't show up for myself in this arena, then how can I expect anything else? And at that point, nothing else really mattered. Like I stopped thinking, like, 2 kids, just quit my job. People say, hey, that's selfish. No, that was one of the best things because I was selfish for trying to feel this need that I thought I had to do for my kids. That was selfish. And then not being a mom when I got home. To me, that was more selfish than me actually being full of me. When I stopped trying to assert myself in the way that I thought society was mandating me to do, my life changed drastically. I'm telling you, I never would have. This time last year, I would have thought that this was never possible. I would have thought it was possible for somebody else, but not for me. Like I'm literally what I was making at Georgia Hope. I work 2 days a week. I make almost 3 times that. Working 2 days a week.
Stop. Are you serious?
2
Stop
days a
it.
week. And the thing about it is when I'm working, it's not work. It's me being me. It's me just showing up as myself. I'm not hiding anything about myself. Even in the therapy realm, I had to disclose that part of my, that I'm gifted and that I see because I was afraid that people would. No, I just show up and look. That's who actually just come attracted to me. They be like,
you
look,
say 3 times what you was making, Joy.
I was working what? How many hours of work? Oh goodness, I threw out the company. My bad. I just
I want to stop you, but you went too fast. I can't get up. You went too fast. You went too fast. It's okay.
My bad. Uh-oh. Well, that's that though. But 3 times. And just working 2 days a week. Literally.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
See, that's when you pivoted, right? There was a pivot, a necessary pivot that you had to take.
Mm-hmm.
And you trusted your intuition and you followed your heart and your gut.
Yeah.
Joy, that's where I am. That's where I am. That's where I am.
Right.
I mean,
that deep breath.
that's exactly what it is. A deep breath. It's the deep breath. When you're at a place where you don't have nothing to lose anyway, you ain't got nothing to lose. Yeah,
Right. And you can sit in that place and try to make up things that is,
Yeah, and make excuses. Yeah, you ain't got nothing. Yeah,
right. When you've lost yourself, there's nothing else for you to lose.
you ain't got nothing. Yeah, when you, yeah. That is the epitome of loss, right? That is the epitome, right? Right. Yeah. Then, yeah. No, you saying some. You're saying some very, very, very good stuff here. I'm so happy that you joined me tonight.
Yay.
I know you're tired. I thank you for your energy, for your expertise, for your spirit, for your love. Just thank you so much. Tell the people how to get in contact with you. Let me put the what? What are you gonna say?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, yeah, no, they definitely on my social media is Let's Talk Joy.
Yeah.
And my website is letstalkjoy.com. Yeah, so definitely go check out my website. I just revamped it. I'm excited. Still work to be done, but I'm connected to this one. You know.
Let me put your website here. Let's talk joy.com.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And social media platforms is Let's Talk Joy too, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yep. And I'll be hopping back on social media this month in November. Yeah.
Okay.
Stuff.
All right. Well, I appreciate you so much. I thank you. I hope that you all got something out of tonight. Listen, if you can't do anything else, please pick up the journal book, Choose Your Own Journey at the 5 and Below. Mm-hmm. So it's $5 or less at 5 and Below to begin your journey towards self-love. If you want to support this platform, this is Weekly Dose of Lady J. If you want to donate, it's the Cash App, Weekly Dose of Lady J. That is the Cash App, the handle. I appreciate your time, your love, your support, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you all so much. You all have a good night and be safe. Alrighty. Bye-bye.